This is GEFerris. I have put together a group of pictures of boats in the Arctic. Here is an Nantucket sleigh ride for you.
Is it? It went back. I don't know, they just like going out on it. The Chappelle's book, Adney and Chappelle's bargain skin boats of North America. And look at the bottom shape. Look at how nice and deep the sides are. If you're thinking about building a boat, first thing to do is to try everybody else's. You really should try a whole range of things around what you might like. And so I tried this one, and wonderful that would do, and it was very interesting to paddle because it would either sit on one side or the other. It just couldn't sit upright in it without paddling fast. You stop and it would go right over on its side because it has a very narrow bottom and high sides. That's the place that I use. Aircraft Spruce and Specialty Company. If you want, there's the telephone number. The bottom line there, Dacron 3.7 ounce by 66 inches is $3.66 a yard. This one, you can see the third chime starting. About a third the way back from the bow.
Jon, how do you adjust the trim, bow up to bow down, in these various boats that you build?
May I answer that for him?
Sure. I don't know.
I just came up with a new design last fall, and I had the boat all done except for figuring out where the thwart was going to go. And I was waiting for somebody to come by so we could put it out in the swimming pool and I could have them tell me how she was trimmed. And nobody came. And Jesus, I wanted to get going on this thing. So finally I took a mirror and propped it up at the edge of the pool and I paddled in front of the mirror. The mirror wasn't big enough so that I couldn't just sit there and look at it. I had to paddle back and forth across it and measure where the bow and where the stern was on the mirror. No boat is new. It's always an outgrowth of something else.
Yeah, and that one, I like the 14'11" length. And it's off two previous boats out of the same pattern. So I knew where to put the rear of the cockpit.
What do you simply use to trim it up or down?
That's
Your body.
easy.
I use my body to the extent I can move it, but how about two or three of those bottles we were talking about before,
Okay.
filled with water, move
Oh,
from your feet?
that's absurd. You're asking us to make you a nice lightweight boat and then you're going to put some stones in it.
Well, I had a boat that needed that. It's an interesting thing. If you have 2 and 3 liter water bottles, soda bottles, right? It's wonderful. They're only worth a nickel a piece if you return them. But they're great in the boats because you fill them with water. You just put them way up in the bow. As many as you think. And if the wind's really blasting, you load up the bow. It'll dive under the waves, but it'll head upwind. It's really neat because the waves come right over, but the boat heads up. I'm dealing with low freeboard boats, right? They don't rise up. What I'm doing this for is to show all you guys who are going to start with a wood bottom or fiberglass bottom, right? You can build any kind of a bottom and put a deck on it. You can use contact adhesive, you can use glue, or what is it?
Well, you get some gook from aircraft spruce.
Yeah.
It's a nitrate of butyrate.
Okay.
It's
Or-
not cold, but it is.
If you plan on doing a series, and you don't like to spend a lot of time at it, you can use double-sided tape. But don't use the tape from the art store. This is designed for putting truck bodies together with the truck panels. The boat that's been finished 4 years with this has had no problems. Is all that's holding this on. Then I tried the next one, the smaller kids' boat with a 1/4" contact adhesive because I wanted to see if it would come apart. That really has had no problem.
And you find that that will stand up to the shrinkage when you tuck the heat to the deck?
Yeah.
It doesn't start going up this
Okay.
tape.
Now we move on to cligocel construction. We're building in this picture a multi-hull. This is one of the hulls over a form on a strong back, and cligocel is very strong foam which can be easily shaped by heating. The cligocel in this form on the side here, which is one of the hulls for this multi-hull, has been covered with 2 layers of fiberglass fibers. One is chopped layer in the bottom nearest the cligocel, and then the outer layer is called biaxial cloth and coated with well saturated resin. It is a sandwich. The cligocel is between 2 layers of fiberglass on the outside and 2 layers of fiberglass on the inside. Each seam is bonded with Bondo. The seams must be 1/8 of an inch wide to accept enough Bondo to get a bond in there. Rick Persson is now measuring up a piece to cut out, and he is going to cut out a rectangle with a ordinary sheetrock cutting knife and a straight edge. This cligocel is a very easy material to work with. There are several densities and thicknesses available. In this hull, wherever there are stress points, the color of the foam is a very light. This is a denser type of foam which can take greater stress than the gray foam. Now he is cutting, and it's just like cutting thick cardboard. You make several cuts. Now they are C-clamping it onto the form. Jon Persson is on your left. Rick is on your right. They're going to heat this foam up with a heat gun. When they get it up to about 160 Fahrenheit, it will bend very nicely. So Rick is now evenly heating this piece where he wants it to bend, and they will bend it when it's ready. They can tell by feel. If you try to bend this foam when it's cold, it just snaps in half. So they heat it a little bit more, and then it will just gently make the bend. So now it will gradually just lay over the form. They can do complex curves with this foam just by evenly and gently heating it. A boat with complex curves, usually you find when you're trying to build a boat, no matter how simple it is, it always has a complex curve somewhere. Now Rick is screwing the foam in place with sheetrock screws. These screws have just enough downward holding pressure to keep the foam nicely in place. If they release the holds on the foam, it'll just simply flatten right back out again. It has to be held firmly into place. These are the Bondo-filled seams. This is just the rough Bondoing. This is what it looks like after it has been sanded off with a 1/2-inch drive rotary grinder. This is just rough finishing. Here's the grinder. You can see how it's quite easy to just sand it off. Of course, you want to be careful not to take off a lot of foam as well.
If you're to put this over the heat, it would start to straighten out again. Especially on the bigger curve, you don't see any real compression or any real change in the foam.
Here they are saturating the chopped fiberglass cloth with resin. It's simply applied with a paintbrush. Here is the roller, and this is how it is used to work out the trapped air beneath the surface. The grooves in the roller release the air and push the resin into the fibers. This is biaxial being rolled out. And now it will take them 4 minutes to saturate this with resin and have it all rolled out so that there's no air trapped beneath this. Good penetration of resin, of course, is the very important factor for the strength of the boat. And you can see by the color where there is and where there isn't resin. And with the roller, they will get all the air out of it. Here's the roller. So this work can go very fast. Yeah. Now we will move on to Dick Newick, who will talk about designing multi-hulls.
Are not usually mistakes. Of the races around the world that permit multi-hulls, and a lot of them don't, and we who sail multi-hulls often feel it is because they don't want to be shown up to be very slow and awkward boats. Can usually beat a monohull up to twice our size off the wind, and if we have a good multi-hull, we'll beat it to windward too. And people don't like to be beaten by boats that are different. So and there's no easy way, we admit, to handicap a multi-hull and a monohull to race together. So it's understandable why multi-hulls have not been accepted in the yachting scene. So we shrug our shoulders and smile and go out and sail a few circles around them, wave cheerfully. And in the last few years, we're getting cheerful waves back from the people who used to look at the far horizon in the other direction when we were in the neighborhood. And in the early days, it was always the younger crew who would give us a cheerful wave and say, looks great, go to it. And now even the staid owners usually give us a cheerful wave. Maybe it's because we're not quite so aggressive in sailing the circles around them as we used to be. We've learned to be more sedate or set a new multi-hull record. We didn't quite have conditions right to beat the monohull record. And that's a tradition that's 4 times as old as our European monohull tradition. And it's been very much underappreciated in this part of the world and in Europe until just recently, largely because of the sailors, the watermen's traditional aversion to anything new or to anything that he didn't think of himself. So traditional can be a bugaboo if you let it. You get locked into what your own tradition is and don't look around and see what other people's traditions are. Look around and appreciate what people with more than one hull have done just recently with building on the old Pacific Island tradition in the West Indies. And my first boat was a 40-foot catamaran, which was my first multi-hull in 1956. I designed it to carry 20-day passengers. An island sloop, a traditional native sloop from the British Virgin Islands, and a trimaran and a catamaran.
This is GEFerris, and it has been a pleasure to show you this. And I wanted to thank all the wonderful people who so kindly over these years have permitted me to videotape their boats or them in action. And most especially who have made this possible for me to provide you with.